Well, I'm out stargazing in my backyard, and I see Dave Stangy up there in Michigan, and Robert Laws over there in Dundee, Scotland, way over there, and I might even be able to pull in Doug Forrest, way over there in Los Angeles. And I'm grateful that you're all here. Welcome to Stay Curious. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad that you're with us here on a Astronomy Monday, a Backyard Astronomy Monday, where I'm going to give you a backyard astronomy lesson on the brightness of stars in the sky and a little bit about direction and how astronomers talk about things being far apart from each other. So this is part of our STEAM education outreach that we do as part of our Stay Curious series, going into 4.5 years and 1,160 some episodes, most of them with my partner who is in Calverton, Long Island, Marty Winkle. How are you, sir? Say hello.
I'm doing good, Mark. Hope everything's good at the museum.
Yeah, everything seems to be going the way it's supposed to. Let me pull down here and see if I can see our good friends on live on YouTube. I don't see that up there yet, but I know you've done your job. If you got some comments about astronomy, backyard stargazing, we're going to do a little program here soon about that telescope that you might want to buy. Better get onto that real quick because Santa Claus is coming. And as I'm getting there we are. Get my live up there so I can talk to everybody across the fruited plain and around the world. There's Gary Gerald in Collins, Georgia, just getting off his tractor there, tending to those Vidalia onions that are so delicious. Hi, Steve Jokums up there, Lake Michigan. He's at Lake County Spaceport. Will be your source for decals for your shuttle models. We love promoting him. And howdy, Carlton Bailey and all of our minions. And I watched Minion 4 the other day, which was a lot of fun on there. So this isn't a kaleidoscope, wish it was, or I would never put it down. But that's a nice little refracting telescope. That's a refractor, got a lens at the end, okay? And that's the one that Galileo popularized, about this size, a little smaller is what Galileo used. Then the ones with the mirror are the reflecting kind that Newton invented. But let me get my chat down there. Dean Babcock's there. Greeting from Central Florida from Mitch Rothman at Manned Space. Keith Sewell. Hello from Eureka Springs, Arkansas there, Keith. And I just saw my patch as part of the Arkansas astronomers there. In fact, the Astronomical Society of the Ozarks. There you are, Keith, buddy, on Astronomy Day. The patch that he designed. Look at that beautiful telescope on a little mountain there with the cars. The Ozarks are some dark skies, and I'm an honorary member and on the board of Keith Sewell, once our astronomy educator here at the American Space Museum. So what we're going to learn about today is the brightness of stars, how astronomers talk about that, and how you can relate to it, and talk about distances between stars in ratio of a protractor type of degrees, because 90 degrees is directly overhead. That's 90 degrees from the horizon. Let's go that way. And so 180 degrees is our sky dome, because 360 is the complete circle. I saw you there, Robert, up in Dundee, Scotland. Faithful viewer that he is. Can't wait for him to come back in the States here. So Marty, we appreciate you. He's going to be getting back this week from Calverton, Long Island. I looked it up. It is between the Long Island Sound and the Great Perconic Bay. Is that what they call it, Marty?
Yes, that's right, Mark.
The Perconic Bay there. So close, very interesting part of Long Island, I think. Very interesting in a way that Marty's been sending us pictures, and I'll show you some in a minute. Marty, you might want to put the banner across the top up there. There you go, buddy. There's our beautiful entrance to the American Space Museum at 308 Pine Street in downtown Titusville, Florida. I was dining with Hazel Banks for lunch today, and we watched the launch from the porch of a Mexican restaurant on Route 1, launch of a satellite for First ones for India, I believe it was today, communication satellites, and it went shot right up into the clouds. Could just barely see it for about 10 seconds, and it went right up in the clouds. We are having a charity auction. It is a charity auction to raise money for our nonprofit charity, the American Space Museum's U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation. And so that is Saturday. We will talk about that the rest of the week, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday for sure, and show you some lots from there. We previewed a bunch of them on Friday. And this is an auction to keep our doors open. It's cash flow money, all kinds of things from Launch Director Bob Seek. And he's donating some of his to the Challenger Center. And the late space worker Bob Griffin has some historic things in there. All kinds of astronaut autographs, photos from the surface of the moon, even a flag or two that's orbited the moon or orbited the Earth. So pre-bid now. And the gavel starts falling at noon on 400 lots, noon Saturday. Pre-bid now, the AmericanSpaceMuseum.org website at the top will tell you how to get there. Robert Law saying an interference on the sound there. Hope that's cleared up. But there's Marty up in Calverton. It is just a wilderness up there. As these turkeys regularly on his walks, Marty's walking or running, he said over 3 miles every day. That sounds like you. Misty morning there. Look at those turkeys. And then they mooned him. Turned around, looking beautiful, and then said, oh my gosh, another Grumman worker on Long Island. Holy cow, that's some good eating there, all right? And our good friend Terry White's been hunting in Ohio. We want to have Terry on the show Thursday, if we can. Wednesday, we'll talk about the auction because Marty and I have a board meeting that we'll go to. So, and Tuesday is an iffy on the show. Right now, I'm scrubbing Tuesday's show because Marty will be just getting back then, unless we got John back to help me do a show. We're going to scrub Tuesday's show, but I'll let you know on our Facebook post there. Beautiful tom turkey there. And, yeah, good, Marty, there, yeah. You can leave that offer on there. But he posted a couple pictures over the weekend of turkeys that I thought were decoys or photographs of them. They just look so beautiful out there. And Terry White, there's your buck you've been looking for. Terry said he's seen plenty of doe hunting in Ohio, but not any buck. And there's a young buck there, looking straight at Marty there. So all kinds of animals. I'll bet you're hearing, hope you're hearing an owl or two at night. I'll bet there's quite a few birds of prey around there at night.
I'm sure about at night, but I've seen several bluebirds here, which I don't recall seeing before, and I see them just about every morning.
All right, Mitch says also audio interference, and I'm moving your phone that I had propped up against the mic there, Marty. So I hope that interference is not too bad for you all there. So, and Doug Forrest says hi. Greetings to Doug. I'm going to move this like this, trying to get Marty on there. All right, so we're getting to what I love to call Backyard Astronomy, how to stay star curious on our program here. What I have as a backdrop is what amateur astronomers call a bolide. A bolide is a meteor that blows up right at the end of it. This is caused by compression, heat. These objects called meteoroids are very cold when they're orbiting the solar system, and our Earth randomly runs into these cosmic debris, and the friction of the Earth's atmosphere instantly heats them up, exchanges them to light. All right, now I got more background on my phone, Marty. I must have activated my YouTube. Let me get that off of there. Okay. All right. So that's actually through the constellation Orion, where you can see the 3 stars of the belt going across there, the 2 stars for the shoulder, 2 stars for the knee, and the sword in the middle there. That'd be a spectacular thing to see, and it would be brief. maybe not last even 1001, 1000, it's gone. All right. And to capture it on film is even more. You don't know if this object is coming at you straight up and down, like my orange pen, or is it at an angle? And the angle like this, you would see less of it, you see. As it would, if it came down like that instead of like that. So there's a lot of things into play with the perspective of where you're at on Earth, where this object is coming at from Earth into the Earth's atmosphere. But we're missing a good Leonid meteor shower right now because the moon is so bright, and of course the moon uh, uh, is very bright right now. So we'll talk about in astronomers' terms. Talk like an astronomer. The moon is 18 days old today, Marty. Can you hear me, Marty?
Yeah, I hear you fine, Mark.
Okay, good, good. And Dave Stange said that the it's fixed. I had the microphone too close. And Dave Stange's granddaughter Mia liked the turkey and the deer, little Mia. So we did too. Thank you, Marty, for sharing that with us there. And John Borelli, John is coming to the Shuttle Fest, Marty. He signed up for Shuttle Fest. We'll be hitting that hot and heavy beginning of next week. And he's hoping to talk to Fred Hayes and win the bid on the half hour with Fred Hayes. And that's gone for $1,000 at times on there. But we're auctioning off a half hour with Fred Hayes and Charlie Duke. Anytime you want to be one-on-one with them, and they can set it up for you. So those are the type of things in our auction that we talked about Friday that we'll hit hot and heavy. Well, the moon is 18 days old. So it is going towards last quarter phase, and it's going to rise way after sunset, because when it's 14 days old, full moon, it rises when the sun sets. So moonrise today is 8:03 p.m., and it advances a full hour every day. It's going to be 9:08 p.m. on Tuesday and 10:11 for moonrise on Wednesday. All right. And Wednesday is last quarter moon. It'll be 21 days old. So sometimes the moon in the summer, it rises about 50 minutes later each day. But the moon moves 1/2 a degree, its own diameter, every hour. And you can always cover it up with your little finger. Always. Your little finger covers up just 1/2 a degree of sky, and that is all the moon occupies. People around the ocean areas, whatever East Coast, might see a big ray from the sun in the east. That is a anti-crepuscular ray. Here it is over the Atlantic Ocean, a photo I took. Those rays are coming from a cloud behind me where the sun set in the west, throwing the shadow all the way across the sky there. And you see the bright areas in there. There's a cut. So I threw this in there to look up. You never know what you're going to see. Don't look at the sidewalk. Don't look at your feet. I mean, don't run into anybody, okay? Everyone's looking at their smartphones, let's face it. But look up and enjoy the sky a little bit. And even if you just sit in your own backyard in a lawn chair, properly covered up there, Dave Stange, you're going to hear sights and sounds and see things in your sky that you're going to wonder, maybe what is that? A great place to start to learn about what are the constellations in the sky is the evening sky. In the evening sky is this skymaps.com, totally free. You also want to have a planisphere handy. A planisphere is your sky computer in your hands. Okay. Of course, you can use your smartphone and download any kind of app. Every store has got apps to see the sky. A lot of them you just point in the direction day or night and see what's up there. But these planispheres have been around so long that this is one recently bought. But this is one I'm going to show you that's kind of tender to use. This is from 1908. This is 114 years old. This sky map, just like the one that I had in my hands, all right? And it's got needs some repairs that I don't want to make worse. This is the modern version of this. This is a man named Barrett and Service presented these, and you move it around, okay, according to the month and day on the outside of the chart there, all right, and it shows you the orientation of the stars. I don't want to move that one, but I'll move this one as the days and nights increase. So I've got it set for mid-November at 8 o'clock at night. All right. Actually, it's dark at 6 p.m. at night. And then how are you going to read this outside at night? Flip on the back door light? No, because your eyes have to adapt to the darkness. So it's worthless to go out and just look at the stars and then go back in the house. You need to sit down and wait for your eyes to adapt for at least 5 minutes, preferably about 15 minutes. 5 minutes, you'll get hooked on some sights and sounds. Thought you heard an owl up there. All right, but what you want with you is not a white light, flashlight, to look at your chart. All right, that would ruin your eyes that have adapted. Your pupils have opened up to let more starlight in. You know what happens when you go to bed at night. You turn the lights out, you can't see anything, and as you're yawning and trying to go to sleep, you look around, you can see everything, every little knick-knack on the shelf, your robe hanging off the back of the door, the TV buttons over there, so forth, so on. But you couldn't see that when you jumped in and turned the light out. So how are you going to read your chart at night? With a red flashlight, all right? Red light does not make your eye pupils contract, all right? They stay dilated just like the dentist does, just like the eye doctor does, and so forth. So you can read at night. You photographers, or if you've ever taken a 101 class in photography and printed your own pictures, you used a red or amber light is another light that you could use. But because then it's not sensitive to the photographic paper like white light is. So red light, there's all kinds of tools you can buy on the internet or any star place, okay, to find things you want. Not a white light, you want a red light. And how did I make this red light? I just took a white light and have some cellophane, red cellophane, all right, on there, and wrapped it around there. I've even used Wonder Bread, had red on it, on there. That's been on there so long, and I've used it so much that the rubber band fatigued and broke on it. So when you're at the Wally World or go at Books A Million or one of those places, these are the two magazines to get. All right, Astronomy, actually that's Astronomy, and Sky and Telescope. Sky and Telescope has been around since the late 40s. This is the kind of stargazing baby boomers like me weaned on this one. And then Astronomy came out about 1990, maybe mid 80s, to be more of a common person astronomy. And they always have a star chart in the middle. Okay. A star chart in the middle with a nice chart of where the planets are in the ecliptic and so forth. And if you buy 1 month of November, it's good for December and even part of January. The sky chart is. Sky and Telescope was kind of more like a definitive observing one, but it was in their charts at one time looked like this. Very beautiful charts inside with all kinds of information and your sky calendar for the month. All right. So Sky and Telescope or Astronomy, they cost around $8, and you could get some information from them on live. So there's my daughter Jessica with McKinley and Macy, my granddaughters. They have no choice but to learn a little bit about astronomy, and that's what I'm talking about. This is the chart that I was showing you earlier, put up there. This company, the Evening, has Evening Sky Map. Any astronomy sites you go to, whether it be astronomy or Sky and Telescope, will have a lot of advertising on there and walk you through the minefield of telescopes. Here's the evening sky chart for November. Thank you, Marty, for racking that up at the last minute. So we look at a chart like this. It's just got a bunch of dots on it, all right? These dots were connected by the Romans and then the Greeks. But the Egyptians had a different dot in the sky. The Chinese and other cultures around the country right now look at the sky in a little different way. But then some have universal stars that they dot together, like Orion the Hunter does look like a man, and the Big Dipper, which is part of the Big Bear constellation, does look like a dipper. But what you notice here going across the sky, the blue is the Milky Way. And this is for 8 o'clock tonight, all right, November at 8 o'clock. And you say, the Milky Way is still out at 8 o'clock? Yes, the Milky Way is really more prominent in October in November, but we're going to lose it real quick. Okay, you're only going to see it only for a few hours, and in 2 hours or 3 hours it will set on the western horizon. But marking the Milky Way are the constellations Cygnus the Swan and Lyra the Harp and Aquila the Eagle. And though they are thought of as summer constellations, they're right here. They're crosses. That's a cross right there of Cygnus the Swan. This bright star Vega is very bright until about 10 o'clock at night when it sets, all right, in the east. Now at the very top is the Big Dipper. That is just part of the Big Bear, Ursa Major. And so the cross is called the Northern Cross. The Big Dipper, for appropriate reasons, looks like a dipper. But these are called asterisms. They are not part of the 88 constellations that have been agreed upon in the southern and northern hemisphere. They're part of those 88 constellations, but they're not constellations in themselves, and we call them an asterism. Like in the middle is a square. That square is part of the horse of Pegasus flying upside down. But the square of Pegasus, whose stars are about third magnitude, okay? Now I want you to remember that. I mean, they're about second magnitude, those stars of that square in the middle here. There's the square. They're second magnitude. How many stars are second magnitude in the whole sky, north and south? You're going to be amazed when I tell you here in a second. It's a square, and they call it the Great Square, and that's easy to find, all right? Here is, below the Great Square is Aquarius, and Saturn is there, all right? In the east after sunset is Venus. We're going to talk about that. And Saturn's right there, and rising over here in the east. Taurus the Bull is Jupiter. And Jupiter is almost at opposition. That means it rises when the sun sets. And has it reached opposition? Because it is up pretty bright at 10 o'clock at night. All right, so it hasn't reached opposition yet. And it is super bright looking to the east. All right, so this is how you denote a couple things, is their brightness. This evening sky map has notes there. The moon was near the Pleiades on Friday night. It was near Jupiter on Saturday night. And it's going to be near Mars on Wednesday. Okay. But right now when you find the moon, the bright star way above it is going to be Jupiter. All right. So not going to talk too much about individual stars. It's hard to point them out to you without being over your shoulder looking at a planisphere or a star chart like this. But this is where it starts, and to go out under the stars, and I guarantee you'll feel a better person when you walk in. If you just get away from the rum-dum of the world for 30 minutes, all right, this is where I enjoy. This is my sanctuary in many ways. Just sitting outside in the night sky with a pair of binoculars are good to start with. And you see an object moving in the sky, throw binoculars on it. I'll tell you what it might be. You look through a telescope about, a little bigger, this size, you would see Venus as a bright, fuzzy gibbous phase like this. This is Venus photographed by an amateur astronomer last week, in fact. Doesn't look like a whole globe. It goes through phases like the sun and the moon. You're not going to see, I mean, like the Earth, like the moon does. The sun doesn't go through phases and Mercury, like the moon does. Mercury also goes through phases because it's between the Earth and the sun. So these are fun to watch. And Venus has gotten way high up there in just a month since it came around from the morning sky in its orbit, bringing us into the evening sky. So Venus is going to be part of our evening sky for till January, when it then goes behind the sun and pops up in the morning sky. Up there in the sky, use a chart to see it, is Saturn, and Saturn's rings are almost edge on. This is a phenomenon that happens in a cycle of about every 15 years. It's going to go edge on, and then they're going to open up again. Media will say the rings have disappeared. And, well, they've disappeared from view from the Earth for a week or so, and then they'll pop back in. Right now, kind of in my backyard telescope, looks like a spike going through it. This is with a pretty good photographic image through a telescope. And Jupiter rising up in the sky in the east about 9:30, 10 o'clock. You'll see it. Just go out there and it'll knock you over. It's so bright. It's going to be not just east, it's going to be way northeast. And there's Jupiter's belts and red spot that, yes, you can see with even a inexpensive big box telescope like that if you have patience and line everything up right. We'll be talking a lot more about those planets on other Star Curious. Well, kind of a fun thing, but it's really the truth. How to identify that light in the sky. So Dave Stange's sitting out there with me in the backyard at 6 o'clock, and she's getting tired, and Dave's saying, I'm going to try a half hour out there. And you see something up in the sky that's really bright and really big. And does it make your eyes burn? Well, that's the moon or the sun, okay. But the first thing, if it's really big and moving, you go, did it move so quick that I could hardly see it and miss it? Well, that was a meteor. All right. And you go off of a meteor there. Is it extra super bright way over here? If it is, then it was a boloid or a fireball. All right. A fireball will look more like, let me go back here, will look more like this. All right. A bolide will actually be more like where it blows apart into other pieces at the end. Not really much to distinguish between the two, though. Ending with a dramatic explosion. All right, that's a bolide that we show in the back here, and that is a dramatic explosion. Well, but first you look at something, and is it moving? Is it blinking? Is anything blinking there? If something's blinking, then it is probably an aircraft, okay? Because aircrafts have a red light, a green light, and a blinking white light. All right, so you look for those three lights in there. If it's moving and moving fast and stops and so forth, you could be seeing it doesn't act like an airplane that would keep going in the same direction and not be moving fast left or right or stop. You see something like that, you may have seen an unidentified anomalous phenomenon. And frankly, I wouldn't know where you report that. There are mutual UFO networks in some communities that are active doing that, but I'll look into that. But is something twinkling? If something's not moving and not twinkling, it's probably a star. If it's really bright and twinkling very violently, that star is probably Venus low on the horizon or Jupiter as it's rising here around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So that twinkling comes from the atmosphere, the scintillation of the Earth's atmosphere constantly moving in cells that weathermen talk about all the time. Think about the refraction of you putting a pencil in an aquarium. All right, and it looks like it's bending. That's what's going on and moving light up and down, and therefore refracting it and breaking that white light into a rainbow, all right, of colors. So if it's kind of fuzzy in the sky, it could be a comet, all right, but we're going to tell you when there's a comet up there. Is it attached to a boat? All right, the twinkling light or the red light or green light, that could be the masthead. All right. And they say that planets don't twinkle very much and they don't compare to stars. Here's why. Stars are a point of light, a pinpoint of light from an energy source. The planets are reflected light. They're sunlight reflecting off the surface of Mars, reflecting off the rings and clouds of Saturn, reflecting off the clouds on Jupiter. We're not seeing the surface on those planets. Mars is the only planet whose surface we see. Venus is reflecting off the cloud tops of that thick, poisonous atmosphere of Earth's twin in size. So that's where we get the twinkling is a star. If it's not, it's real bright, and it's not twinkling, it's probably a planet. Well, let's look at a couple other detailed things about the sky. Satellites. Here's a time exposure, and that's the Great Globular Cluster of Hercules right there. It's a fuzzy 100,000 stars in a ball. If we were on the world's planet orbiting one of those stars, the sky would just be filled with stars everywhere. We don't know what that's like. These are orbiting our Milky Way galaxy and other galaxies. But this is a time exposure of an hour maybe, and all of the satellites that are leaving a trail going through it, messing up this amateur astronomer's photograph of the great nebula of Hercules. The great cluster of Hercules, not the nebula. The great nebula is in Orion, and we'll talk about that this winter. But that is the Great Globular Cluster of Hercules. And these are some of the Starlink satellites. And so imagine you're an amateur astronomer and you've got a clear night, number one, that you could take a photograph, and you rig everything up. It takes no less than a half an hour, maybe an hour to get everything just right to take this photograph. And then you can go to bed and let the camera automatically track things and take the exposure, and you get up and look at the hour-long exposure the next day, and it's filled with satellites in there. Now, there are algorithms in software that you can use to take those out automatically, and they do, but still it compromises data. One of the most puzzling things to talk about in astronomy is Jupiter is going to be minus 2 magnitude, and Venus in the sky is minus 3 magnitude. And the stars of the Big Dipper are 2nd magnitude, okay? The Bull stars, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper are all about 2nd magnitude. Well, this is where the eyes start glazing over, so hang with me. The magnitude is a logarithmic scale. And 1st magnitude is 2.5 times brighter than 2nd magnitude. And 2nd magnitude is 6.25 times less bright. I said brighter, I'm sorry. 2nd magnitude is 2.5 times dimmer or less bright than 1st magnitude. 3rd magnitude is 2.5 times less than 2nd, and that makes it 6.25 times less bright than 1st magnitude. 4th magnitude is 2.5 times dimmer than 3rd magnitude, and 4th magnitude is 16 times fainter than 1st magnitude. 5th magnitude is 40 times fainter than 1st magnitude, and you go from 5th to 6th magnitude 2.5 times. That's 100 times fainter than 1st magnitude. So it begs to ask, how many of each magnitude are there in the sky? And I'm always shocked when I share this. There are one star that is minus 1 magnitude. That is Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. That's right. They go from +1, +2. They can go from +1 to 0 magnitude is 2.5 times brighter. 0 would be then first, and -1 is 2.5 times brighter than 0. Only one star is negative, and that is, of course, Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, and the Earth's Canis Major, the big dog below Orion. We'll see that in the winter. But Venus and Jupiter are always negative, all right? The moon is, a full moon is -12.5 magnitude, and the sun is -26 on this scale. Arbitrary scale made up by mathematicians hundreds of years ago. Now, how many stars are first magnitude? 8. 8 stars are first magnitude. Of all the stars in the sky, and if you jump to the bottom, there are 6,100 visible stars that the human eye can see in a dark, dark, dark area. That counts some that you're never going to see. I'll talk about here in a minute. That's northern and southern hemisphere. 8 stars are first magnitude. Now, second magnitude stars, that all the stars of the Big Dipper are, and the stars of Orion's shoulders and knees are, and the belt, there's only 35 stars in the whole sky that we call second magnitude. And third magnitude is about the faintest that you're going to see in your backyard. And there's 120 stars, third magnitude, all right? That would be the stars of the Little Dipper. And you add all those up, you got 150, you got less than 200, you got less than 175 stars, really, are you going to be able to see in your backyard. All right, 175, that's it, because it's hard to see in urban sprawl, in city lights around you, anything less than third magnitude. Now, you go out to your favorite park, you'll see about 360 more stars. The fainter ones are fourth magnitude. You get out to a darker sky site, like Kissimmee, here is a dark area. You might see 1,000, 1,100 stars or fifth magnitude. And then you go to a desert location, a remote area on a lake or something like that. There's 3,500 6 magnitude stars. Now, this is North and South Hemisphere. Okay, these aren't all the stars you're going to see at once. And of course, you see stars in the Milky Way and so forth. So incredibly, there's not many stars to see from your backyard. I say less than 175 because it's hard to see anything fainter than third magnitude. Now you have 3.5, 3.2 magnitude. They have increments in between it, so that gets you in there. Marty, were you trying to say something?
No, Mark. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, just make sure you're awake there. But Marty, isn't it kind of amazing there's really so few stars to see from our backyard? Now, if I was one of the...
thousands of stars.
Yeah. What if I was Native American on Long Island, Calverton, where he is, 200 years ago, where many of our founding fathers were, let's say 300 years ago, you would see down to sixth magnitude, no problem, because the little lamps burning in the little houses and stuff, that wasn't enough to really make your eyes contract again. They would stay dilated all the time. So we've really lost the light of the starlight. And astronomers have a name for that. They call it noctalgia, sky grief. Well, here again, another chart. You see the sun, -26 magnitude. The moon, -12 magnitude. Venus at its brightest is -4. Sirius is at -1.5. Betelgeuse, 0. Alpha Centauri, 0. The naked eye limit is 6. Owls can see about 8th or 9th magnitude. You see owls got those big eyes that they got a lot of, when they open up their pupil, there's a lot of area on that retina in the back. They can see about another 1,000 stars than we can. Other species can also. So you get the telescopes, binoculars, about 10th magnitude you can see with binoculars. So that's the way to see a lot more stars. But the big telescopes, on Earth see about 27th magnitude, and the limit of the Hubble telescope is about 30th magnitude, and the Webb has brought that down to, we hope, down to 40th magnitude. Arbitrary scale to give us an idea of how bright and faint things are. There again is another way to look at this scale, where the sun is, Venus at its brightest. Our naked eye limit is 6. And I've not seen 6 magnitude star in years, probably, since I was on White Top Mountain in Damascus, Virginia. Polaris, see that? 2nd magnitude. The North Star is one of 35 stars that are 2nd magnitude that you can see from your backyard. All right, let's talk a little bit about astronomical directions. All right, if you look at your app, and it says the International Space Station is going over tonight, and it is 10 degrees above the horizon when it appears at 7:44 p.m. And at 7:48 p.m., it will be at its maximum height of 66 degrees, and it disappears at 7:50 at 31 degrees above the horizon. There is a beautiful way to look at that. This is talking like an amateur astronomer. Directly overhead is 90 degrees. This is a protractor. Remember those that we had in school? All right. Well, it's just the degrees of the sky. 90 degrees is directly overhead, and 45 is in between that. So if we say 60 degrees, the space station's passing over, you get an idea it's more than halfway up in the sky. As you get an idea where 10 degrees is above the horizon, which, how do you visualize that? Well, you use your hands. Your fist outstretched is about 10 degrees, all right? Spread your fingers out. It's about 20 degrees from thumb to little finger. Or do that with your little finger and pinky, which I have a hard time doing with my arthritic fingers. That's about 15 degrees. The Scout's Honor sign, extend that out, that's 5 degrees. The pointer stars of the Big Dipper are 5 degrees across. All right. The whole Big Dipper itself, you can cover it up with your thumb to your little finger. That's 25 degrees approximately. In your little finger, it says 1 degree there, but it is probably, because you can cover up the moon always with that. Now, if the moon is half a degree across, you can get 180 moons from one horizon to directly overhead and another 180 on the other side. Isn't that incredible? 360 moons would span from horizon east to west. It is so small of how it occupies space in the sky, but it's so big in our minds. What's this? Well, this is a time exposure. Only about 30 seconds, all right? This is some of those Starlink satellites going across the sky in a picture I took when I knew they were coming across, all right? You do see quite a few stars there, down to 6th magnitude, or maybe even more if it was darker. You have a bright star in the tree over there. No, that's in my picture here. That's in my, yeah, I thought that bright star was in the trees. How you take this picture is you put your camera on a tripod, you set the night mode, which will make your speed of your sensitive camera chip over 1,000. If you know how to change your ISO, put it up to 5,000. That might be too much, actually, in an urban setting. You have to experiment a little bit with that. 30 seconds, gently push your trigger down. If you do it rapidly, you'll move the camera, and that'll make things jiggle in the picture momentarily. Or use your self-timer if you know how to use that. Push your button on your camera, self-timer will go across there, okay? Now, you can't hand-hold this with your smartphone, all right? But you could put your smartphone on a tripod fixture and probably take this picture, because a lot of smartphones now have 35 millimeter time and f-stop modes on there. So, but automatically put that night mode on there. It'll probably set the ISO, the sensitivity, and this is less than a 30-second exposure. I'd say it's about 10, because these stars start going across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Then the shutter stops. So when it opens is where it captures it. Where it stops is not where the satellite stopped. It's an illusion of you capturing the motion of that, because the satellite kept on going. And you can do different fun special effects with that. There's that bolide busting up. So you lay the charts down, and these sky charts just don't have, like the planisphere, they're marked with declination and right ascension that correspond to latitude and longitude on Earth. The declination, astronomers call it, is the latitude, right there, okay? Those circular lines. The rays coming out, those are called, that is the longitude, all right? Or right ascension is what astronomers call it. Right ascension is another word for longitude in the sky. And the whole pattern on the Earth of longitude and latitude is projected up in the sky. So where Polaris is at the tail of the Little Dipper at second magnitude, that is at about 90 degrees into the axis of the Earth, points right there. It's a little bit off by a degree or so, and it wobbles. So stars of the Big Dipper were maybe the Polaris. All right. See the Big Dipper over here on the right? Well, it is now plowing as if on the bottom, and it is called the plow up in the United Kingdom. Robert Law is up there in Dundee, Scotland, and they call it the plow because it's digging up the horizon right now. These are circumpolar stars that never set, but some of them almost set from down here in Florida. A lot of the Big Dipper is not visible. The M on its side, or W on the left-hand side there, on the other side, that's Cassiopeia the Queen, a good constellation to know. Well, we're almost done here, just giving you a nice brief tour of the sky. Remember, your outstretched fingers and hands are your key to distances in there. 10 degrees is a good one. My fist, 10 degrees extended. I'm using that all the time to measure things in the sky. Look up. This is a gigantic crepuscular rays. See those clouds at the bottom? They're projecting the shadow of those clouds up into the sky. That was a dramatic evening up there in Tennessee, Jesse. I think you were with me when out there in that big field beside our house when we took those pictures. And there is anti-crepuscular rays. These kind of rays here go all the way across the sky, and near the oceans in some mountain areas you can catch hints of them as the dark lanes that are hiding the white clouds there in the sky. And there's something I always like to point out, the belt of Venus. But this gray area, that is the actual shadow of the Earth being cast into the sky, the light sky of evening, and above it is a kind of a polluted area of the sky that makes it look pretty. But it wasn't so much polluted as it is atmospheric refraction, as we're looking through about 100 miles of Earth's atmosphere here, as opposed to directly overhead, you're only looking at about 30 miles. It makes it reddish orange, and the ancients called it the belt of the goddess Venus, and belt was a name that they used for a brassiere around ladies. After all, they were in tunics and so forth, so a belt was not used so much around a tunic or a toga as a belt was across ladies' chests there to hold them in place. And this become known as the belt of Venus, a beautiful atmospheric phenomenon. As the sun sets, the Earth's shadow gets higher and higher and higher. You don't see it because it suddenly gets dark. Of course, it's going to be brightest near the sun, but as this gets darker, and then the Earth's shadow's up there, but you see the stars through it and planets and moon, just like you see the sidewalk through your own shadow as you're walking down a sidewalk. And just a beautiful shot of Orion. You see the 3 stars there, or the belt, the red star Betelgeuse, and his first magnitude. It's actually 0 magnitude, one of 3 stars that are 0. Rigel, the other bright star, here's another one. It is a 0 magnitude star. And that's Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral complex there. That's the vehicle assembly building. And I believe that's when Artemis was out on the pad a couple years ago. Just showing off a time exposure of about 15 seconds or 30 seconds, all right? And look what I got. A beautiful picture there with the clouds, the Indian River, and our nation's spaceport across the horizon there. So hope that you've all enjoyed this episode of Stay Star Curious. And again, come back most Mondays. We like doing this, I think. And if you got some suggestions of something in the sky you'd like to highlight, but again, part of our science, technology, engineering, arts, or astronomy and math that we do here at the American Space Museum. We've got several programs that are ongoing, including some stargazing events with the Backyard Astronomical Society and our bilingual STEAM Saturdays with our wonderful friend Natalia Sepulveda, who's doing a great job. And we're going to kick off a big STEAM program in January as we're developing that. So hope you enjoyed that, Marty. Thank you for your time and patience today. Marty will be flying back from Calverton, Long Island. Actually, he'll probably get on a plane. Where are you flying out of, Marty?
It's Islip Airport. You probably never heard of it.
ISLIP, Islip. So I've heard of it, but so you'll be making connections, huh?
No, nonstop.
All right, nonstop to Orlando. All right, buddy. Well, we look forward to seeing him. He's been gone on a family business, and glad that he was able to do that. But we got some good pictures of turkeys, deers, and all kinds of beautiful foliage out of you there, Marty. So thank you very much. And thank you all for watching Stay Curious today. We are saying we're not going to have a program tomorrow, but it's a possibility that we will. So look for the preview on Stay Curious. Either way, I'll post something by about 2 o'clock tomorrow on our Facebook. But and then we're going to talk Wednesday about the auction, and then some catch up with some space news and current events the rest of the week. All right, so log on to our auction. Go check out those beautiful lots that are up there for sale. And you may win a one-on-one Zoom with Charlie Duke or Fred O'Hays if you bid high enough and win. And hope you do, John Borelli. So until the next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying, keep looking up, because I'm going to be looking at you, all right? And I can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us. Let's get out there and look at some stuff.
That's a wrap, Mark.
All right. Thank you very much. So